Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, where we go across country and travel the world with members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. Let's go. Welcome, everyone. You know, we get to chat with destinations every second Tuesday here on Big Blend Radio, and these are destinations, all members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. So last month was the big conference in Lafayette, Louisiana, but I want to go to Whidbey and Camano Islands today because this was one of the conference locations a few years ago. And that's where we're going. We're going to go to Whidbey, Camano Islands. Go to whidbeycamanoislands.com. It's linked in the episode notes. And we have Inge Morascini back on the show. And she is going to tell us a little bit about some of the military history since today, as this airs, of course, you can listen to it anytime. As this airs, it is Veterans Day. So we're going to talk a little military and maritime history and also find out, this is kind of an off-season time to go to these beautiful islands, easily accessed from Seattle, all in Washington State. Very easy to get there. But what we can do off-season and also think about gifting. You know, the gift of travel is about giving someone an experience, which is something that is life-changing. And I think over the interviews we've done focusing on Whidbey and Camano Islands over the years, I think this is a destination, and also having traveled near there and around that area, they have really focused on travel, that when you come to these islands, you will be transformed in some way through maybe education, going to a local event, those kinds of things. It's going to be wonderful because it's a beautiful area. My gosh, you can go kayaking with orcas. You never know. So welcome back, Inge. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm just thinking about you. I get all energized. I'm like, we're going to go to Whidbey and Camano Islands. And I'm like, okay, I know your season really kind of kicks off more in the Tulip Festival time, right? And goes through summer and into fall a little bit. And I love your area. I've been there in winter. Quite frankly, it's wintertime is our experience. But there's this drama that happens on the ocean at this time of year that, to me, I like the off season. We have not been to the Tulip Festival or seen your area in the summer, but which I can only imagine is amazing. But there's drama this time of year, right? On that coast. It's beautiful.
Well, there certainly is, the typical environmental drama, but we also have the drama of everyone preparing for the holidays. And our emphasis this time of the year is on inviting people to come here and take a look at all of the talent that's here. We have so many artisans and craftspeople, and we have so many open studios where people can actually go and watch things being made or take part in classes and collaborations. And we also have a ton of holiday markets this time of the year, both on Camano Island and on Whidbey Island as well. Up and down the island, on the south end, you have Langley and Freeland and Clinton, and there are small stores that carry local artisans' work. There are tons of galleries that carry that work as well. And so not everything is a large purchase. You can certainly go in and find a small glass sculpture or a vase for someone, but you can also give yourself that gift as well and take a class on glass blowing, for instance. Or make a commitment to somebody else and say, hey, we're coming back in the summer, so I'm buying you a kayaking tour package for the summertime. And those are great gifts to give somebody, that gift of a commitment to say, hey, let's do this through.
Love this. And you've got like Valentine's Day coming up in February as well. And then there's like just this natural beauty, right? That I think your islands are so representative of this. I talk about the drama because of just the way the ocean is there. That's my drama part. It's just the ocean is just like, wow. And it's invigorating. And yes, it may be colder, but there's an invigorating thing about the ocean, and being on an island is just gets you to the actual, you and I were, before we were recording this, talking about roots music, but it does get you to the roots of life in an island. And also understanding the respect to have when you go to an island destination, any destination really, of, hey, this is a small place and whatever you do affects the island. So we as travelers need to be really aware of that when we go to island destinations, especially of how we behave and trash and all that kind of stuff. So just saying that on the side here, but January, like, I would like to start my new year on the coast somewhere because there's something clean about the ocean. There's something beautiful about the in and out of the tides. And I don't know, I just feel like that would be the greatest way to start a new year is on the coast. Whether it's foggy, whether it's not foggy, whether it's sunny, windy, doesn't matter to me. That's just what it is, right? What do you think?
Well, filling your lungs with ocean air is always, always invigorating, and we have so many parks here where people can go. Oh, and by the way, on the day this is airing, it is state park free day. So you can use any of the state parks. There are 5 of them on Whidbey Island alone, and you can use any of the parks free of charge, or you can come and if you're a veteran or if you're not, there's a Veterans Day parade in Oak Harbor today or on the 11th. And yeah, there's just so much to explore at a time where there aren't the usual crowds of people. And there is a lot of rubbing of elbows of people who live here on a day in, day out basis. And it is a friendly, it is a rural community. So there is that sense of small town Americana that you'll find here. Whether you're going to a restaurant and talking to the bartender or the server, or a small shop who can tell you about who made the product that you're looking at, or someone you just walk on the beach with for a time. And I think that's one of my favorite experiences here is just finding yourself where you are at the moment and letting whatever happens happen at that moment, whether it's windy or whether it's a light drizzle or whether you've met someone who has a dog that likes your
Yay.
dog. It's just, it's that camaraderie and that sense of genuineness that you find here.
It's just gorgeous, right? I mean, it's beautiful. And I love the ruggedness of the coastline too. Like it's when you say coastline, though, people are going to think, oh, big long strip of white sandy beaches. No, this is just so different. You've got to go to experience. But the other thing about the state parks, this is really important. State parks, when you go there, it's really, again, about keeping these places pristine and protected and enjoy them. There's wonderful hiking trails all through these islands. And I remember going through the Washington state parks that if we went to one park, we could use and we paid, right? Then that pass is good for the other state parks that throughout that day. If you wanted to go park hopping, you could do that.
Yes, and that pass is relatively inexpensive. Not only can you do a day pass, but you can do a yearly pass, and I think the yearly pass is under $40. And then
Wow.
that allows you to go into any of the Washington state parks.
Oh, that makes sense. If you're there for a week, yeah, do it. And do you get a lot of people coming to, Whidbey and Camano Islands from Seattle? Because it's not hard for people to get to the islands, right? Or do they have to take a ferry? Give everyone that lowdown, but I can imagine Seattle people going, it's like an easy, quick break for them.
It is. And Seattle is the Seattle area is our largest customer or visitor base. We're 40 minutes or so from downtown Seattle, so we're not far. There is a ferry on the south end of the island, but it's a 15-minute ferry ride. And this time of the year, the ferry runs every half hour. There are generally no lines during this time of the year, as opposed to the height of summer. And it's a 15-minute crossing, which is nothing, but get you out on the water and sets the pace for you to slow down a bit and take in the scenery and the atmosphere. Or you can drive around. You can drive to the top of the island and go across Deception Pass Bridge, which is Deception Pass State Park is the most visited state park in the United States, and with good reason. It's beautiful. It separates Foldago Island from Whidbey Island, and that bridge was built during the Depression era. So it was hand built during the 1930s and is quite a scene from the top or the bottom. And there's lots of trails and areas around there, as there are on the whole island, actually.
That's the thing. And you have a hiking guide that people can use too,
We
don't
do.
you?
We do.
Yeah.
We have a free guide that's available at any of the visitor centers on the island or chambers of commerce. And that guide has 25 of the lesser known trails. And that's our attempt to get people to explore further afield and have people find places that are a little more off the beaten track. So it is a pocket guide, and you can pick it up for free once you're here. Or if you want to drop us a line, we're happy to send you one as well.
And see, that's so great. I mean, you know, I know GPS and we can have all those things too. We all want that, but there's something about something being in your hand where you can actually see where the trail is and learn and figure out, okay, this is going to be our activity level, you know, depending on our bodies too, when you talk about hiking, you know. So it's really good to have those things in hand and go. And I think that's the thing. It's, you know, they're islands and you know, we all use GPS, but I'm getting to this point of like, we are losing our, sense of place through GPS at a point. And I think sometimes going to an island and starting to just drive around and get your bearings. I don't know how to explain this, but I mean, I travel full time and drive this country a lot through every weather situations from hurricanes to ice storms, tornadoes, done it. And I love my GPS because it gets me in and out of all kinds of predicaments and puts me in predicaments. But I think sometimes like going to an island is about like just ditch it all and drive around and find out what you want to do that day. Like you were talking about that about the ocean. Don't over plan. Be on the island time because there's an island time. I mean, everywhere that we've been on the islands, it's like people are so connected to nature and the natural beauty. You know, people's homes, you go visit people and their homes don't even have curtains because they want to see the forest outside. You know, that's one thing I have to say about your region. No one cares about curtains. We want to be outside no matter what the weather is. So homes are built that way. Is this making sense? I'm just saying your area is
Well,
so beautiful
but
that
I
way.
think too, to your point about having cartography or paper maps, that to me awakens the explorer or the dreamer in all of us because you have this larger view. GPS, I often find, restricts my imagining of a place, whereas a map opens that imagination, and I want to explore the next town or the next trail or the next road off of the main road. Here, particularly, you go down one road and all of a sudden you're out of the road and you see this beautiful vista of the ocean and things that you are unexpected. You're not seeing from you don't see most of the island from the main road, which is 525 that goes up the island, but I always challenge people, take all the side roads, go off all the side roads and explore and see what else you can find.
I think, you know, that's it. It's have an adventure, you know? And you can't really get too lost in an island. Like you can't.
Exactly.
You know, you can't get that lost, but you're going to still have that feeling. Getting lost is one of my favorite things. I mean, that's why we're on the road permanently because I get lost everywhere. And then when we're in a destination, I go, I know how to go here, here, here without GPS or a map. Oh, it's time to leave now. You know what I mean? It's like you've gotten too attached, you know, and it's just the way we travel full time, you know, so we're different. But it is, I think I enjoy driving around, but you also your islands and Washington State, from what I remember, which isn't that long ago, it's very cyclist friendly too. So
It
cyclists
is.
and biking versus driving around would be nicer for the environment. But do you have a lot of people coming just to go cycling?
We do, and we actually have our own routes. on bike GPS, which are
Oh,
GPS routes, and then we also have a biking map that's a paper map that the county puts out, so that's available as well. And, our bus service, we have a free bus service, so if someone wants to leave their car and just bring a bike, they can get on to the ferry with their bike, and the bus service has racks on the front of it, so they can go to some point in the island. The island is 64 miles long, so it's not it's not someplace you want to bicycle for days on end in terms of, getting to the other end.
mhm.
So you can go and explore an area on the bike and then get on the free bus service and go to a different area. So a lot of people do that.
That's amazing. That's awesome. That is really, and if somebody just wanted to come with their bike and go on the ferry to come over, would that be okay?
Yeah.
I'm not a cyclist. I'd be in trouble. Like I'll fall down. Everyone goes, once you've, you can always just get back. It's just like getting back on a bike. And I'm like, no, you don't understand, but I respect it. I do respect it. And I think people enjoy it. So let's talk a little bit about the history because the Pacific was so crucial. So much happened in history. And then even looking at all the islands that actually connect over all of there's history, military history from even how the islands were settled as part of America, right? And then there's the military history of World War II for sure, right? So military history since we're, November 11th, but again, this is timeless. Evergreen content here, people. Military history is pretty big and significant and is still making history, right? Even through films being filmed out in your area.
Yeah, Top Gun, I think is the second version of it, was filmed partially here. And the military has a base on the north end of the island that is specific to the Navy aircraft, and they use it they have what's called an outlying field, which the growlers type of airplane, they use that field as if they're landing those airplanes on an aircraft carrier. So you see these rows of these giant aircraft going around in a big circle and doing touch landings, and a lot of people come here just to watch them do that. It's quite
Wow.
interesting. One of our most visited pages is the schedule of when the aircraft will be doing their exercises. And so, yeah, there's quite a long history of naval tradition here. Fort Eby was a fort that has the original bunkers that were installed there during World War II, but it was never actually commissioned. There were no battles or anything, but the bunkers are still there. So you can go there and explore those. It's certainly a great many people that live here are retired military because they served in the Navy here and then decided they liked it so much they retired here.
So you have a military base out your way then?
Yes, in Oak Harbor.
Okay, Oak Harbor. I remember Oak Harbor. I remember filming like windsurfers in Oak Harbor because I hadn't seen that. We used to live in Port Elizabeth in South Africa and they had windsurfing. And then when we came to the States, I hadn't seen anyone windsurf and I thought, oh, that must be a South African sport. I don't know. But it was the first time I've seen it since living in and where we lived was Port Elizabeth, very windy. It was known as the Windy City. We're not Chicago over there, but we did have penguins. When we
Chicago
got to Oak
doesn't.
Harbor, we saw windsurfers and we just like jaw dropped, like this still exists, because we had no clue. And I have tried to windsurf and it's as bad as my cycling. In other words, it doesn't work for me, but good for those who do it. But we saw windsurfers there in Oak Harbor and I was like amazed. So I
Yeah.
didn't know you guys have that, but you do. That's
Yeah, we
unique.
do. And a lot of people even swim in the sound, even in the wintertime.
No,
Oh, yes.
I'm just saying.
Not me, but
Listen, when we come back, Inga, we're going to your wineries, okay?
okay.
And we're not going to do cycle to winery. That's not happening with us either. But we will go to the wineries. Oh my gosh, and that's the beauty too. You just don't expect that on an island. You're driving this beautiful area and then all of a sudden there's wineries and you're like, there's wineries in the islands? Like, what's going on here? You know, it's just so different. It's like I think this is so cool. Islands are so unique. They have their own ecosystem. They have their own habitat. It is completely self-contained, right? And that's the importance when I talk about the environment is to understand how small this, and, you know, and then we have to think about planet Earth or the entire country of being a big island. And I look at things as islands. So this is a small island. We're on a big island. America is a big island. England is a biggish island, but not, you know, that kind of thing. So when you look at Whidbey and Camano Islands, you're islands and everything. It's like when we talk about islands and travel, people automatically think Caribbean and all of that. But these other islands are like this whole other unique ecosystem. It is. And that means people systems too. Everyone's connected, understands that connection. And when you go in there, it's a whole other world, all in an island. It's
Well, I
magic.
think
I know that
islands
sounds weird, but it's cool.
yeah, I think islands breed or attract people who are entrepreneurial, self-sufficient, are imaginative, artistic. So we have all of those elements here. You know, we have people who come here and just decide they're going to do something. You know, they're going to, for instance, we have a meadery and they make, you know, I had only experienced mead at Renaissance fairs, and it was pretty nasty stuff. And, you know, this young couple came here and opened a meadery in Freeland. Hereford is the name. And they make 20 or 30 different kinds of mead. And they just decided they were going to do that. We have small makers for honey. We have small makers for all kinds of beer, you know, and as well as wine.
Mm. You know, when you think about it, you know, that it's small batch, it's artisanal. And usually from the islands, from what I know, is everyone is farm to table. Like everything is local sourced. And so your flavor profile for everything is like not what you're going to get in the grocery store in a big city. Like, you know what I mean? Unless you're going to an artisanal kind of store, you're getting something that people are doing quality over quantity, you know,
Well,
and
they're
for a
also
love of
supportive
it.
of one another.
Yes.
So a lot of
Huge.
the small micro farms that we have here, the local restaurateurs are very supportive of those farmers and fisheries as well, and ranchers. Three Sisters, for instance, is a local rancher. And, you know, so a lot of restaurants will carry local meat products as well as things that are grown on the island. And Pen Cove mussels are served in most of the restaurants on the island because they're pulled right out of the sound within a day or, you know, within a day they're in the restaurant.
Well, that's the thing. So the seafood, that's a huge deal for you guys, right? And it's different than what you're going to get in the rest of the country in
Yes.
regards to food, right? You have those things that squiggle around like sea cucumbers and stuff like that. I don't eat seafood. So could you tell I'm allergic to it? Sorry. But so I don't know how to talk about seafood, but tell people, like you said, Pen Cove mussels. I know about them. We've done shows on oysters and mussels and all of that. And everybody else was talking. I just sat and shut up in the corner, but
Yeah.
but to me, this is the same thing as you are connected to nature, right? And so you're harvesting from nature, but having this balance. As an island, you understand that balance. And I think that's something for, you know, there's this other part of travel where go to places like islands to understand how to live more sustainably. That's really it. And understanding that, like, I know a friend who lives in a tiny mountain town, tiny, like, I mean, it's tiny. And one person raises the pig. One person grows this crop. One person grows that. And they share their harvest
Mhm.
between them all on this mountain. That's how they sustain each other. If someone's going through a disaster or something like, hey, my barn burned down or something, everybody goes to that barn and fixes it together. They look at it as that kind of community. It's not a commune or any of that kind of stuff. It is just a community that knows we have to rely on each other no matter what. Whatever our political differences are, doesn't matter. we need to survive and help each other. And I think that's a really cool thing about an island is that people have that survival style. And I'm not putting us in survival like cavemen, but understanding sustainability, because if you have to keep going to Seattle for stuff, that's going to suck and it's going to cost a bunch. So you need to do what you need to do on the island, right?
Well, and not only that, if your neighbor is doing well, then you're doing well. So if your neighbor has too many tomatoes, I always redistribute all of my
Hmm.
vegetable garden throughout the neighborhood, and my neighbors do the same. One has a plum tree, one has an apple tree,
Yeah.
everything gets distributed through the neighborhood. And there are places where you can learn that kind of style. We have a place called the Organic Farm School that yearly they bring in a new crop of small farmers, and they teach them the methodology of farming in an organic way. And not only that, invite people to come there to spend time in their farmhouse and partake of whatever's being grown there as well.
That's cool. That's really cool. And then I wanted to ask this, foraging too for mushrooms. When does that start?
Well, if you look at our calendar, it's every Saturday, and you can also book a private tour to go and have an educator go with you, or you can do these meetups on Saturdays. It's called Whidbey Wild Mushroom Tours. So that's fun. And then there's an article on our website that I will take credit for having written about foraging for seaweed and other edibles from the sea.
See, I told you there's the squiggly things. That's what I was talking about.
Well, you can eat a lot of different types of seaweed that's washed up or that you can harvest in tide pools.
Wow, really? I had
Yeah.
no clue. I mean, I know seaweed, there's a lot in it's healthy for you. It's good for you. There's seaweed in like snacks, and even like instead of a potato chip, have a seaweed snack kind of thing too, right? So I just never had that because I don't know if it's going to be like related to my, fish allergy thing. I don't know, but it's a vegetable, right? Isn't it a
It's a
vegetable?
ve Yeah, it's, like a plant, or it is a
Okay.
plant, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. I'm like, duh. And then at the same time, it's like mushrooms are so fascinating to me. And I think more and more people are getting into foraging and understanding just how healthy and beneficial mushrooms are and how good they are for the environment and how ancient they are. They are so ancient. They are part of the forest ecosystem. And we think we need trees, but I'm going to tell you, we need more mushrooms than anything in the world. I'm not being silly. It's true. What they do for soil, what they do for aeration of soil, and then all the medical benefits that come with them. It's pretty amazing. And your area is one of the top places, to go foraging and learn. And I would never go in the wild and pick a mushroom and try and eat it without someone telling me this is okay. An expert. We need an expert. So those guided tours to me would be invaluable. I want to do that. That's when we come back your way, we want to do wine and mushrooms.
You're on for that.
Okay.
I'd love to take you out. Yeah, and you learn so much, not only about mushrooms on those tours, but you learn about the forest and you learn about conservation and you learn about all kinds of things on those tours. So I think they would be a great outing for a family and kids. Maybe not small young children, like 3 or 4, but, children that can walk for a distance and that have an attention span. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter who has no attention span, so I might be a little jaded in that respect.
Well, but actually, you bring up a good point too. So the islands, we think of bed and breakfast stays, and I know you have vacation rentals. And everyone, again, go to WhidbeyCamanoIslands.com. It's linked in the episode notes, and you can truly plan a great, experience there. No matter if you're staying for a weekend or a week or 2 weeks. When we were out in that way, we spent a few weeks, and you're just never going to finish. So keep going back. But families, I mean, I think what I'm trying to say through this whole interview is that you have quality of life, and that's important. It's so important. And yes, you can have the romantic stays. You can have your nature experience, right? But I think there's something for families too, for people to go out and for kids to be able to go out and learn the coastal part, learn about the forests and all of that. That's the magic. You have a forest on the coast. Like that's cool. Super cool.
Well, and multi-generational families are, a lot of visitors come here. They came here as children themselves, and now they might be grandparents. So they come here either a second home or they rent a large home and they come here with their down to grandchildren. It gives that experience, particularly over the holidays,
Mm.
because we have a lot of small town holiday celebrations where you have tree lightings with Santa Claus and holiday markets where it's all handmade products. And so that's always fun to do no matter what your age is.
I love it. I love it. And also just like what you were saying earlier about shopping for the holidays and really getting something artisanal, something handcrafted, whether it's, hey, I'm buying cheese or handmade cookies or, all of that, jewelry or, ornaments, to support, these, small business folk that really, running a small business is not easy. They go through a lot. And I love that you have that there for people to really shop and get something unique and not something on a box store online that everybody else has. It's like I'm one of those people. I can't stand Black Friday. I hate it. I don't even like the term. There's historically some bad terms with that too. So I'm like, if you're going to have Black Friday and go shopping, go to Whidbey and Camano Islands, right? Go shop people that actually really work hard on that. And I think manufacturing obviously is also part of that, but don't kill yourself at those big stores and people, running with a TV and trampling the next person. Like, come on, this is the holiday season. It's about thought and kindness. And I think that goes in when you go traveling. Shopping is one of those things. And our audience has taught us a lot about that. We always like, shopping's not a big deal. Oh, it is. People want to know where to go shopping. What is the shopping experience like? Do you have a street with a bunch of different stores? And then can I go have lunch in between shopping? Can I have wine in between shopping? I want the wine. So the experience, it should be an experience. And it's not just women shopping either. So I think the experience is cool, to be able to do something where you can send a friend something very thoughtful and unique.
It also comes with a story.
Yes.
You
Oh,
you had a long conversation about this particular, thing that someone made, or you learned about their process, or you learned about them. And I think those relationships and those stories are so invaluable. It
yeah.
makes the whatever it is come alive.
Well, like if you go to a glass blower, right? And they like, maybe you have a friend who loves hummingbirds and they make a hummingbird. And I'm saying this from an actual real experience that I've had. And they make that hummingbird for them. And you could even film them making it. And then you send that film to your friend going, I know you love hummingbirds. Here's a hummingbird and here's how it was made right in front of me. Things like that. That's a story, that's that transformation we're talking about, how travel just is, you are shopping when you travel and you shop, you're taking your friends with you and your family with you in a way when you shop because you're thinking about them when you go in a store. Oh, this reminds me of so and so, or oh, I know you collect these, and I think, yeah, it's a way of sharing your travel experience.
It inspires other people to travel to places as well.
Yeah, exactly. Now, before we go, one more question. It seems that you are part of a road trip network. The Scenic Isle Way would be Scenic Isle Way and the Cascade Loop. So for road trippers, which road tripping has just really grown. I think it's between 6 to 10% every year lately, and it's getting up and up and up. I just did a speaking conference on this and spoke about this on the importance of road tripping and how families get together and do it and how there's a revival of this. And are you seeing that for Whidbey? And can you tell people about that experience?
Sure. The Cascade Loop is a roadmap as it it's a brochure that you can pick up in a great many places, visitor centers, or look at it online, and it goes through this whole area, um, and onto the Olympic Peninsula as well. So you can start or end at any point within that loop or take the whole loop as whatever you have time for, but it really does give you the discovery of what this area is like. I think it's a beautiful drive. We get a lot of people who come here and, they're out for a Sunday drive and they want to take the ferry across and they drive up the island and go off the other end. And then we have lots of people who come here and spend a week or more. So we have both types of visitors. I, of course, would love to engage everyone in coming here for a week or more. But, if you're out for a Sunday drive, it's certainly a beautiful Sunday drive as well.
I love that. I'm so excited about road tripping and that it's coming back. And it's about being slow, driving fast. It's a slow drive. Put some good music on, go with your friends, your family. You have to have the right people for a road trip, though. Know that.
Yeah, I remember the horrible ones. I shouldn't say this, but I remember the horrible ones with my parents who both smoke.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you have to pick the right ones. I could go on. That's a whole other show. And we have a whole other channel for that. And that's why I wanted to bring it up for our road trip radio channel that this will now be on as well, because we brought up the road trips. But that's the truth. I mean, and if you think about Washington State has some of the best, most amazing musicians that come from there. Okay. So like the road trip music is just, and then you think island, but we're not going Caribbean. We're going to do like a forest, ocean magic road trip playlist, right? That's important. You have to have a playlist and it should go by theme of who you are with your friends or whoever's in the car, that kind of fun stuff, right? But then try and put some songs in there that go with the area. And so sometimes the playlist actually just happens while you're driving because you go, oh, no, we need to play this person, while we're driving. So
Well,
road
and if
trip
you're
music.
looking for new musicians, there are lots of them on the island, and they play in the local pubs as well as playing in the local wineries and other venues. So if you want to add some people to your playlist, come and spend an evening in a winery and listen to some local music.
Well, you have me at that. I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. I'm wanting to come back really bad now. Well, thank you so much. Always good to have you on the show, Inge. Again, everyone, the website, you can go to Whidbey and Camano Islands. Excuse me. Let me get this straight. WhidbeyCamanoIslands.com. It's linked in the episode notes. Also, for the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, this is how we discovered this area and ended up going there because of them. So go to IFWTWA.org. If you are a destination or a travel writer, photographer, author, anybody, a tour guide in the world of food, wine, and travel, you should know about this amazing organization. So check them out, IFWTWA.org. Thanks so much, Inge.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, featuring members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We encourage you to visit their website. We say IFWTWA, which is IFWTWA.org. You can also follow us at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels, everyone!